Raewyn Kraybill, and today I'm going to be talking to you about submitting your work to literary magazines in the hopes of getting published. I know it can be hard to start, you don't know where to submit to, you don't know what the process is like, what's a cover letter. Well, I'm going to go over all of that and give you some resources and tips. So the first step is to polish your work. You want to make sure you're giving the best work you can to these editors, and if they see work with a lot of mistakes, they're going to say, oh, now we have to do some work and fix this, it's not worth it, it's harder to get accepted. So one way to do this is, well, first you should read over it yourself a couple of times, do some editing and revising, and then it's great if you have a mentor that is experienced in literature or writing or publishing, but if you don't, just have any other set of eyes look at it, catch what you don't catch, give you their opinion. Anything like that is very helpful. The next thing to do is you gotta find some open calls. An open call is when a literary magazine asks for submissions from the general public. This can be really hard to do if you're just gonna start searching them, but there are resources like Duotrope, Poets and Writers, and Chill Subs, which I'm going to show you in a second, that will help you find places to submit your work. They have our databases of so many different literary magazines, and you need to find a magazine that fits the work you want to submit. So if you have work ready, you need to find a magazine that has the same style and has the same specifications as your work. So let's go look at some of these resources. Poets and Writers is great. They have a bunch of resources here, but we're going to look at the literary magazines. And then, so here is their database. There are so many of them. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here. And you can see that there are pages and pages of each letter alphabetically. So instead of just scrolling through, you can just scroll through, or if you have a specific genre you're trying to submit, you can say I'm submitting poetry, and it's, let's say it's historical, and filter, and then say, okay, these fit that. So that's a great way to narrow down. And then let's click on one. Oh, gotta log in. You do have to make an account, but it is free, so no issues there. And then it'll give you all of this information. So this is the magazine for the website for the magazine. Here's their genres, submission guidelines, you can go there, your reading period, all of this stuff is very important. Simultaneous submissions, you're going to see this term a lot. Do they accept simultaneous submissions? A simultaneous submission is when you submit one piece to multiple magazines. So most places do accept these at this point, but it is important to check, and if they do accept it, let them know as soon as possible if your piece has been accepted somewhere else. A simultaneous submission can be really helpful for you if you're trying to get your piece accepted and you want to just throw it out there as much as possible. Payment, some places will pay you in cash, some will give you a free contributor copy, some won't give you anything. It's something to know. They've got some good information there. So then we have the editorial focus. This is important to read to make sure that your piece fits the magazine. So this is a feminist youth-led magazine. So if your work doesn't really fit that, maybe you need to find something else. Tips from the editor. This is great too. Read these, pay attention to what the editors are saying, the specifications, as much as you can. If you can personalize and make sure that your piece is right for them, that is really going to help you get accepted. And they have some contact information here. So that's what the Poets and Writers site will give you. Now, Duotrope is a little different. As you can see, it says start my free trial. It is a subscription-based service, but they have some extra things you can do with them. You can do a submission tracker that they'll do a submission tracker for you, which I'll talk about later more, but that would be helpful. Deadline calendars to tell you when your things are due, and other things, just other resources with them. So you do have to pay for that, but some people find it worth it, and it has a lot of helpful things. So if you don't want to pay, here's another free site with a database. So this is Chill Subs, and you can see they have tons of databases just like Poets and Writers. You can come over here to the filters again. I love this filter for them, open for submissions. If I want to submit right now, of course I want open submissions. It's very nice to have that filter there. And you can say, let's say poetry again. We can even put in max poems per submission. Let's say we want to submit 2. We can do so many specifications here. Simultaneous submissions. Examples online. Just so many different filters. And that'll narrow it down for us, and then we can click on one. Let's see what they give us. Alright, so we have, these are the genres they include. What are they about? They give us a little blurb. And this website gives you a vibe, so how prestigious is it, how hard it is to get in. So they have send us your best but less intimidating. So not super hard to get into, but not super prestigious, but it is looking for good work. So it gives us the response time, and all of this information is input by other writers that have submitted to this place. So that is very helpful, and you're getting information from your peers. Acceptance rate 40%. That's nice to know. I haven't seen that on any other sites. This one has a lot of details, and I think it's laid out very nicely. So this is helpful, and they have a nice how to submit for you here. So what's the process? Do they need a cover letter? They'll give you cover letter advice. They take everything from their website and they make it really concise and easy to find here. So that's what's great about Chill Subs. And they also have statistics, like I said, from other writers. Submissions tracked, response time, acceptance rate. It's just, there's a lot of help here for you. So that can be a great place to start. Alright, so let's say you found an open call at one of those places. Now you're ready to submit your work. And as you saw there, you might need a cover letter, or you might need a third-person writer's bio. And I'll show you a third-person writer's bio and a cover letter example shortly. The second thing to do is, like I said, be very careful of submission guidelines, what the editors are saying, what the magazine is saying about itself. If you pay attention to that, then you have such a good chance of getting in, a much better chance of getting in. If you don't pay attention, if you don't follow the guidelines, they're going to throw your piece out. They're not going to look at it, and we want them to look at your work. If you're submitting to multiple places, if you're doing a simultaneous submission, one little tip from me is you might want to submit the piece to similar magazines, and by that I mean, so we saw like the acceptance rate for one of them. If you're submitting to a place with an acceptance rate of 80 and a place with an acceptance rate of 10, and let's say the 10 one is something very, like a very popular magazine and you'd really like to be in it, well, it's likely that the 80% one will accept your work first, and then you'll have to turn down the 10. You'll have to tell them to withdraw your work, so you'll never know if you would have gotten into that. So to avoid that situation, I would try to submit, if you're doing a simultaneous submission, to the same level of magazines. So let's go look at that writer's bio. So this is a little example one I wrote up. You're going to want your name. This is going to be in third person, so you're going to write about yourself in third person. You're going to write your name. Are you a student? What's your job? Something, what's relevant to this? And then, since it's a bio, you can add a little fun fact at the end if you want, but it's got to be very short, maybe 1 or 2 sentences. This is not a long thing. This is just what would go in the magazine if you were accepted. And then for a cover letter, I found this article on Jane Friedman, if you want to go look at it. But they gave you some things to make sure you include in your cover letter, and they have a good format. You could use this as a template pretty easily. So a cover letter shouldn't be super long either, but it's a little bit more explanation, a little bit more personal. So you can use this as a template. And once you have that, you've submitted. Keep track of your submissions. Now we're going to talk about the submission tracker. So Poets and Writers has a submission tracker, which is free. You can add submissions. So let's say we're going to add one. It's a literary magazine. Submitted it to The Sun. What day did we do that? Let's say we did today. What was the piece, the fee, the status, comments, all that kind of stuff. And that'll keep all that information there for you. And what I like about this is you can filter your submissions. So if you've submitted a lot of pieces, you can go back and you can easily look through them. So I think that is a very useful tool. You can also use Duotrope, as I discussed. And what I do, I'm going to show you my little method, is I've made my own spreadsheet, and I'm just writing down the publisher, if it's simultaneous submission, when did I submit it, what work I submitted, and the status. So you can keep track of it yourself. You're not able to filter it, which is a downside, and it's not going to automatically do it for you like I believe Duotrope does, but it works. And it's very important to stay organized with this. If you lose track of your work, it's going to be hard to, know what you can accept. Remember to pull your work for simultaneous submission. So here we're looking at submittable, and as you may see, there are a lot of declined here, and this isn't unique to me. I haven't been doing this very long, but there's a lot here. So this isn't unique to me. Rejection is very much the norm in this process, and you have to not let it get you down. Sometimes it's just not what they're looking for. It's not the right fit. You got pushed out by someone else's work. You're a new poet. Maybe that's not what they want. So don't let it get you down. Keep submitting. And if you do get your work accepted, it's a great feeling. So I hope that the tips I've given you today can help you get your work accepted, or at least get your work out there. Thanks for watching.